The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot. What does that mean? Well, think about it. Man who does not read. Let's say you have a man. He's working a dead-end job. He's been in the same position for 20 years, and he thinks he cannot get out. His boss isn't going to give him a promotion because he's really good in the position that he's in. And let's say you have another equally hard-working man, but he's illiterate. Let's say he's a slave. He can't get out of his position because he knows nothing else. He isn't educated in another field, even though he wants to. Now, when I was in the 10th grade, that quote hit me pretty hard. I mean, I was in class, spark noting all the books that the teacher assigned, Mr. Herndon assigned us to read. And these books could teach many lessons, but I didn't care. I was 15-year-old, 16-year-old student who, didn't care about grades, didn't care about education per se. And I was in class one day and, I read that. And I was like, what advantage do I have over a man who cannot read? None. Equals. I mean, we're all equals in a way, but really, what brings us above the uneducated class? Reading. The opportunity to read. So at that moment, I decided, let me read all of the books that I previously haven't read. And something happened. My father always used to tell me, reading is knowledge and knowledge in power. I didn't know what that meant until I was much older. Now I do. Let's also take, for example, this book. I'll take a small quote from it. And that's from Joshua chapter 1, verses 8. I'll read it from here. It says, "This book of the law should not depart from your mouth, and you must read it in an undertone day and night, in order to observe carefully all that is written in it. For then your way will be successful, and then you will act wisely." Now that was given to a leader, supposedly by God. Did you notice what the instruction was? It was to read every day, day and night. Why? So you could gain wisdom. Now think about it. You have, let's say, the same man can't get out of his job. Let's say 40 years later, let's say he's 60. He learns something innovative. He tries to innovate a field, but he doesn't have the time to do it anymore. He doesn't have the resources to do it. But he knows it's something big. What happens? Or let's say you have a young man who reads consistently, learns from the experiences of those who he reads about, and becomes an innovator. What we could read in the books that we have at our disposal are lives we cannot live. Lives and experiences of people we can never actually experience ourselves. There are some people who lived back then, ancient Greece, ancient Israel, ancient China, and we can never experience the same things, but we could still learn from those people. We could go inside their thoughts by reading the printed page. Let's say this book as well, the same book, consists of 66 books and letters written by over 40 men. I'm only one man. I could only live one life. But reading these, you have insights into hundreds of lives that I can never live. I could only live mine. But there, I could travel to many countries, many lands, Asia Minor, Israel, Egypt. And I can't do that right now. That's how powerful reading is. We could go into thoughts and perceptions of people we cannot be. I'm not transforming into a girl, but I could read a book and I could find out how she thinks, how she perceives. And you're not only connecting with the character in that book, you're connecting with the person who wrote it. It's such a spiritual quality to connect through words, through language. We would be no different from the quote-unquote caveman who could not write or could not read if we did not take advantage of this gift that we have. We would not be different from the slave who cannot read if we did not take advantage over the gift that we have. We would be no different from the blind, deaf, mute if we did not read, if we did not take advantage over what we have. But we can, because we can read. A lot of people, they don't think that they have enough time. They do. All the richest people read. All religions have sacred texts to read. You can't find God without reading. You could try to experience, but you cannot do it. These are principles that all come from reading. That is why reading is such a spiritual thing to do, such a wise thing to do. You live through other people, and you gain that wisdom. So please, read.